We're here with Dr. Renee Renardi talking about getting the spark back in our marriages or your partnership, whatever it is.
Right.
So a lot of different factors go into it, right?
Absolutely.
Losing the spark, that is.
Yeah, and this occurs, and you bring up an important point. This occurs in all kinds of relationships. So it's not just married couples that have been married for 40 years and they're just bored with one another. In fact, that doesn't seem to be a variable at all. So there's lots of things, like we were talking about in the first part, lots of different variables, psychological variables, medical variables, variables that have to do with just society in general, and unrealistic expectations that people have about sex. TV sex is very different than real sex oftentimes. So, and when people have unrealistic expectations, that can really impact somebody's self-esteem, give them performance anxiety issues, things like that. Other cultural issues can impact things too. When people aren't thought that they should enjoy sex, that can really impact a person seeing themselves as a sexual being or what they think sex should be in the first place. So lots and lots of different variables that contribute to this. Fortunately, there's lots of things that you can do to create that spark, to get that spark back in a relationship. Or if it was never there in the first place, trying to be really open with your partner to talk about, well, what can we do? So to get it again, or create more intimacy in our relationship. And I think that there's a number of factors to understand with that.
Is that just like making sure that you've got a date night every couple weeks, or setting aside time?
And I think so often now people are so busy, so life just fills in all other areas. So people oftentimes do have to plan it. And people think, again, TV sex, that it should be spontaneous and it should just happen and be incredibly romantic. But it doesn't happen too often, and if people wait for that, they're probably going to be waiting a long time. So it's planning for that, and then anticipating that, building some positive anticipation for whatever time that could be, sending fun little text messages back and forth, or I'm really looking forward to this. If you're not there yet with your relationship, if intimacy means sex, then taking a step back from that, because not all couples are ready for that, so that it's being able to connect and be intimate in other ways. So starting by holding hands, doing things so that touch doesn't always mean sex. Because if people make that association and they're scared of sex, then they're not even going to touch their partner, and that's going to create even more intimacy problems.
Is there some point where you go, okay, we need to go get counseling? Or?
Yeah, I think that it's really important. When people are caught in this cycle, it can be sometimes absolutely necessary for people to see a marriage counselor or a sex therapist to really work through these issues, especially if there's some pretty deep factors that are contributing to that, like a history of sexual abuse or things that they feel so shameful about. Maybe it's sexual preferences or other things that are going on for that person that they're probably not going to feel comfortable talking to their spouse about, at least not yet. So a counselor can really help bridge that gap for couples.
Okay, we've got about 45 seconds left. Anything else we can do to make sure we bring that spark back?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is to not use blame. So usually it's differences in sexual desire that creates this problem. So not blaming the other partner who has either higher sexual interest or lower sexual interest. It's no different than, I like shopping and my husband likes, running. It's something that we just have differences. That's okay. But when it comes to sexuality, somehow couples always feel like they should be on the exact same page. So it's working with one another, not causing this blame game, but really working as a team and knowing that it takes work and motivation, but it can be a lot of fun. So I think that's something something to think about.
Dr. Renee Renardi, we've got the tips. If you don't have the tips, go see Dr. Renee. All right, we'll be right back.